Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For today's presentation, our Group 5, will represent on the regulations on halal cosmetic for the subject Halal Legal and Regulations. The presenters are Aisyah Afika binti Ismail, Muhammad Syafiq bin Abdul Basit, Najmi bin Abdul Aziz, Nur Iliana Amalin binti Ahmad Nazam, and Sharifah Sakina Imani binti Wan Sukuri. For the table of contents, it consists of definitions, requirements from MPPHM Domestic 2020, MS2634 Halal Cosmetic, NPRA, CDCR, Poison Act 1952, prohibition and issues in halal cosmetics.
Firstly, we look on the definition of cosmetic and halal cosmetic. By referring to definition of cosmetic by NPRA, FDA, MPPHM 2020 and MS2634, we can conclude that cosmetic is an article that is intended to be poured, rubbed, sprinkled and spray to the external part of the human body in order to changing appearance, to cleaning, perfuming, to correcting body odor and keeping body in good condition. The example for cosmetic is shampoo, toothpaste, deodorants, facial makeup, nail polish and more. Okay, next we look about the definition of halal cosmetic, which has been stated in MS2634. So, halal cosmetic must have no prohibited animal, no najis, not intoxicate, not poisonous and hazardous, not been mixed or closed with prohibited animal and najis, not been prepared by instrument that been contaminated with najis, and must not have part of human beings.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sharifah Sakina Imani and I will explain on the requirements needed for the regulations of halal cosmetics. So here we have is the MPPHM Domestic 2020 or the Manual for Malaysian Halal Certification Domestic 2020. This manual is issued under Trade Prescription Act 2011, Certification and Marketing of Halal Order 2011. So this manual, it is used together with documents like MS2634 Halal Cosmetics, Guidelines for Control of Cosmetic Products in Malaysia, NPRA and other required guidelines. So previously in the old MPPHM, which is the 2014 version, they used the MS2200-2008 Part 1, Cosmetics and Personal Care, as one of their reference for halal cosmetics. However, for this manual, they made a new halal standards, Malaysian standards for halal cosmetic, which is the MS2634. So this will be explained in detail by my friend later in this video. Okay, now we move on to the application and criteria. So basically, the application and criteria in this new manual is almost the same with the ones in the old MPPHM 2014. However, there are a few amendments made, specifically made for halal cosmetic. Okay, for example, here we have is the holds a business license from the local authorities and have also must also have a valid manufacturer license from NPRA if applicable. So for halal cosmetic, it is advisable to have a license from the NPRA in order for us to produce products for halal cosmetics. Any cosmetic company who desire to manufacture, import or wholesale any registered products must have any manufacturer's license, import license or wholesale license. So other requirements are almost the same as the ones in the MPPHM 2014. Okay, here we have is the specific requirements for cosmetic scheme under the new MPPHM Domestic 2020. So there's a few difference made. For example, they specified on cosmetic products that is made for export purposes. Okay, here we have is the any cosmetic products that is made for export purposes, they must obtain or notified a letter of authorization from NPRA. And then besides that, premises that process or produce cosmetic products must apply or meet the requirements in Annex 1, Part 10 of the Guidelines for Cosmetic GMP, as well as the requirements needed in MS2634, General Requirements for Halal Cosmetics, Controls of Drugs and Cosmetic Regulation 1984, and other latest legislation and regulation enforced by the relevant authorities.
The other requirement is MS2634, Halal Cosmetic General Requirements. This standard is focusing about the general requirements for halal cosmetic, which is for the use of manufacturer and the handler of the cosmetic product. The requirement is about manufacturing, handling and distribution, management responsibility, materials, hygiene, sanitation and safety, labeling, packaging and advertising, and more.
Requirement is based on National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency. Okay, the first one is Annex 1 Part 1. It's just a list of cosmetic product by category, which is cosmetic is not only makeup, it's actually hair care, body care, all our body, okay? And then we look at the first guideline, which is Annex 1 Part 6. So what is Annex 1 Part 6? It's actually guideline for safety assessment of cosmetic, which is this guideline is to make sure that the cosmetic industry product is safe and follow all the assessment of the safety, okay? Okay, next requirement based on NPRA is Annex 1 Part 7, which is cosmetic labeling requirement. Okay, as you guys can see at the slide, there's a lot of requirement to label at the cosmetic, to make sure the label is at cosmetic. Because why it is important? Because labeling is to help inform the customer or consumer of the product any information regarding to allergy ingredients or any macam mana tahu orang tu dia ada product that he's sensitive, kan? So this can help the consumer to choose which. Okay, next is Annex 1 Part 13, which is a guide manual for adverse event report. So basically adverse event report is actually any problem experience during use the product. So kalau produk tu can lead to death or injury yang serious, yang lead to death apa semua, threatening life, they have to report to NPRA so that NPRA can do a further action to the product. Okay, before that, there's a lot of list actually dekat NPRA, but we will focus on Annex 6, which is list of preservative that allowed to put on the cosmetic. Okay, before that, what is the function of preservative? Okay, basically, preservative is to minimize the risk of microbial contamination with the product. Okay, so there's at least 59 preservative, but I will explain a little bit about benzoic acid. What is the function? Okay, so the function is to stabilize the product, fragrance additive, bagi bau kan, and emollient. So that's the function of benzoic acid that found at the sunscreen, lipstick and lotion. Okay, so there's a lot of actually preservative that we can that can be used for the cosmetic.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Shafiq bin Abdul Basit, and today I'm going to present about Control Drug and Cosmetic Regulation 1984, which is consists of 5 parts. The part 1 is preliminary, the part 2 is about the authority, part 3 regarding the registration, part 4 regarding manufacturing, and part 5 is regarding the miscellaneous. CDCR 1984 is a regulation that function to complete the Sale of Drug Act 1952, which is they are describing the rules that are not stated in the Act. They are focusing into 3 parts, which is part 3, part 3A and part 4. In part 3 is about registration and licensing. They are focusing on the prohibition of substances and related to product. Which example, the prohibition of product is the usage of nicotine in medical or traditional cosmetic. And there was about the next issues about the registration requirement. They were stated about the process of registration and the approval and the cancellation of registration. And next about licensing and certification, which is about all regarding the certification. The next part 3A is about the notification, which is the product cosmetic is notified as a cosmetic product after it registered. And lastly, in part 4, about the manufacturing, it is same. It look like same with the GMP, which it touch about the personnel, premises, equipments, manufacturing operation, QC department, inspection and distribution record, in order to ensure the production of the cosmetic in line with the rule and can ensure the consumer using the cosmetic in safe condition. Okay, now it's about guideline for cosmetic for GMP. This GMP, guideline of GMP is produced to ensure the product is consistently manufactured and controlled to specific quality. In GMP, they're focusing on the personnel, which is how the workers need to be knowledge, and the premise will construct well, and all the equipment they use must be good condition. Also, they need have to sanitation system, and they were focusing on production line. GMP also focusing on quality control, which is it is important to ensure the quality. Also, the documentation must be complete for easy the audit or inspection, which is in internal audit. They need to examine to avoid from the adulteration Also, they need to have good storage to keep the raw material. And next, they need have contract manufacturing, which is proven, and they must have a license. And they need to handle the complaint, how they want to handle the complaint. And lastly, about the product recall is the system that they want to answer with the complaint.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Iliana Amali binti Ahmad Nazar. So today I will explain regarding Poison Act 1952 and the step on how to register cosmetic notification. The Poison Act 1952 contains few controls, which is first, control of compounding of poison for the use of medical treatment, control of manufacture of preparations containing poison, control of import of poison, and control of acetylating substance. Next is regarding transport of poison, supply of poison for the purpose of treatment by professional men, packaging, labeling, and storing of poison. So, this control must adhere and follow this act, in which only authorized and licensed person can do this activity. If the person is found not adhere to this regulation or act, the person will be prosecuted of an offence as stated in this act. Okay, so for the sale of poisons, it is divided into two, which is first, sale by wholesale, and second is sale by retail. Next, it is also included in this act is prohibition of sale to persons under 18, possession for sale of poisons and sale of poison in contravention of this act and offence, and the restriction on the sale of Part 1 poisons generally. Okay, this is because Part 1 poison can be supplied, sold, and also administered by a registered medical practitioner, but only for the right purpose. For instance, a registered medical practitioner can do so for the purpose of treatment for their patients. Okay, so there are two part of poison, which is part 1 poison and part 2 poison. Part 1 poison is the poison that is specified in the column of the poison list entitled part 1 of the first schedule. Part 1 poison divided into 4 groups, which is group A, group B, group C, and also group D. Poison that fall under group other than group A poison can be supplied, sold, or administered by a registered medical practitioner. While part 2 poison is a poison that cannot be sold by anyone except following few regulations as stated in this act. How to register for cosmetic notification? First of all, to register for cosmetic notification, we must register for the Quest membership. This slide shows on the step on how to register for cosmetic notification, from login, filling all the required information which is in section A until section I, and lastly is proceed with payment.
Now, we go to the forbidden things for cosmetic product. There are several things that the manufacturer or the cosmetic product needs to be aware about the cosmetic prohibition. The prohibition has been listed by NPRA, like about the product names, which is in Annex 1, Part 2, product claims in Annex 1, Part 8, product advertisement in Annex 1, Part 9, and product ingredients in Annex 2. For example, about the product names, it is forbidden for the manufacturer to use the name of ingredients that not a part of their product ingredients. For example, if they are manufactured moisturizing, if they did not use aloe vera as their ingredient, so they cannot name their product as aloe vera moisturizing cream. And then the example is the manufacturer cannot name their product that have the element of syirik and hurufat like badi, saka, penawar, and so on. Next, about the product claims. It is prohibited to make religious claim at the product, like using religious statement, and the statement is from Al-Quran or Bible or Hadith or any statement from any other religious about the cosmetic. About the prohibition of product ingredients, there are about 1,391 ingredients that be listed in Annex 2, which is about the substance that must not form part of the product ingredients, like aminophylline, theophylline, methylene chloride, and more, which is all the ingredients is prohibited due to its own reason. Maybe it have their own risk for consumer.
Okay, next is issue about Brilliant Skincare, which is this cosmetic have prohibited items and harmful ingredients. Okay, so there's two ingredient that is prohibited: hydroquinone and tretinoin. Okay, so basically hydroquinone also already state in IPRA Annex 3, which is this product is under category list of substance which cosmetic product must not contain except subject to restrictions and condition laid down. So dia macam kena guna tu based on limitation and requirement mesti untuk professional use only. So kena ada.
For the issue, this issue has been raised in 9 June 2020, which is there are 3 cosmetic products identified using mercury as a part of the product ingredients. For your information, mercury is one of the ingredients that be listed in Annex 2, which is about a substance that is prohibited to be formed as a part of the product ingredients. So, it is because mercury can affect on our body, which is it can affect on our kidney, and our nerve system and our skin. So, if the manufacturer or the seller or the distributor of the product that contain any ingredient that be listed in Annex 2, they might be fined not exceed than 25,000 or been imprisoned not exceed than 3 years or both.